Hello, hello. So, I'm sure all y'all have that one experience as a child. Dad, mom comes over to you, asks if you want some pizza, right? So, they go ahead and order that pizza, come in, you're sitting at the table and just eating that delicious dough and sauce and cheese and whatever toppings you enjoy. But here's one thing that most people don't think about is usually the pizza brand. Now, everyone's going to have their favorite type of pizza. It's going to be like Pizza Hut, Domino's, Papa John's, or if you're lower income, maybe you do Little Caesars, which they're not half bad, honestly. But have you ever wondered what goes on inside those pizza places? And that leads to today's podcast episode, That Time at Pizza Hut. My name is Glitch, and I'm your host of the Foxbox Podcast. And today I'm going to be telling you about my experiences at Pizza Hut. So, to go ahead and give a little backstory, I used to work at Pizza Hut for a little while, and I actually recently just worked there after moving, but quit. But nothing really eventful happened there. So, whenever I was 17, I was working at a what do you call it? I think it was a grocery chain of some sort. I forgot the name though. And I was not really happy there, unfortunately, because the employees there kind of treated me like garbage, and the managers really didn't do anything about it. And one of the coworkers actually quit. So I decided it was time for a change, and decided to follow my coworker over to that Pizza Hut. So walking in, first interview, things are chill. Pretty much I'm hired on the spot because they needed a new cook. They're already down to three, and they needed four to cover for the one employee that tends to get sick a little too often. They quit later on though. So I walk in, and the manager, if you cannot, how do I put this? Imagine your stereotypical pizza manager, and pretty much you got what my manager looked like. The big fat guy with the neck beard and all that great stuff. Yeah. Um, he was pretty chill though. He was my favorite boss at the time because pretty much he just stuck to the rules. But the only thing that was really bad is like he would sit in the chair 24/7 and not actually work the job unless he was needed. And that led to some fun moments. So one night, whenever I was done cooking, because we didn't have any orders at the time, it was starting to hit like 7 o'clock, and it was a Wednesday, so we didn't get too many orders at that point, unless it was like a church. But then we already had those church orders after 7. So I go over to sit down at the break table, and here's the boss sitting in his tall chair on the phone. And like me and my coworker were kind of just joking around, and then suddenly the boss goes, "Well, you want to go, motherfucker? Well, we can go. Come here right now. I'll fight you right here." And it's like just constant yelling. It's like, what the hell's going on? And then he hangs up the phone, and one of the shift leads come over and go like, "Hey, what happened?" He was like, "This dude wanted to get a refund, and of course we can't do that because he ordered what he got. He just didn't like it because with a Pizza Hut policy at the time, uh, we didn't do refunds unless it was for like mess ups. But if you did like a order and you didn't like it, we just didn't do that." And the guy evidently got really mad and started mouthing off, and it led to that event. Unfortunately, no fight at all, which I was really hoping for, but can't win them all, right? So a few weeks later, while I'm still there, just working as a cook, uh, the boss actually has to transfer to a new store because they needed someone new, and the store we had wasn't priority, so they just hired someone new in the store. And I just turned 18, and I was kind of like trying to branch off into something new. But the new GM was like, hey, if you want to become a shift manager, I'll let you come on. 14 an hour. I'm like, 14 an hour? Shit, might as well. So, come shift manager. Not even 2 weeks in, this GM quits. She just vanished, thin air. Didn't even bring back the keys, just gone. And of course, me being a new shift lead, I didn't know diddly crap other than how to do the cut, register, and all the basic stuff. But I couldn't go on and do like doing scheduling or anything. So I decided to quit for a little bit. Not full on quit, but just like go work a different job for a little while. And I came back after getting frustrated at the other job, and we had a new GM. And it was actually one of the shift leads that we previously had. And he was actually really chill. And working with him was actually a blast because, for the most part, we got our crap done and didn't have to worry about too much afterwards. And after a while, his mental health tanked, and he quit. And because the store couldn't run effectively, I decided to kind of back off and go to another job for a short time. So new GM comes in, and he asked me to come back. So I'm like, sure, why not? And he actually offered me 15 an hour if I did come back, and that was really helpful actually. And I quit my other job. Once I was there, I was taught properly for the most part on how to do things like actually cleaning certain areas and how to mostly follow the rules in some ways not. But this is when the real fun begins, because this new GM, he just vanishes out of the blue. And so like, I wasn't scheduled for that week, so I didn't know anything going on. Come back, dude had a heart attack. So this is already 3 GMs I've gone through. And then I get to my fourth. No. This is my fourth GM. Now we're on to my fifth. And this would be Gabe. Gabe was really cool, and he was actually in college at the time trying to get into Boeing as a contractor. So he was there for a little while, gave me a little more help on the things I didn't know how to do, like scheduling. And then, what you know, this guy decides to go and disappear as well. So here I am, the only shift lead, for the most part, that decided to stick with it. As like a sit-in GM. Of course, the RM is like trying to help out. And this is where the real fun really begins. Because at this point, rules are thrown out the window. Because I don't know diddly crap. We're just making the store run. That was all I was told to do. Is make the store run, and we're good. Don't got to worry about anything else. So I took that to heart and ran the store best I could. Of course, being a shift lead who didn't know how to do much other than scheduling and fixing inventory, the employees had a different idea in mind for recreational activities in the store. So at the time in Alabama, weed is not legal, but THCA is. And that is really no different from regular flower or regular carts. They're all the same at that point as long as it's THCA. If you're getting something like THCJ or whatever, stay away from that. That's poisonous for your body. Anyways, right. So, one of them, his name was Grayson. He decided it would be a great idea to go into like this back parking lot area, get a bunch of cinder blocks, and just create a campfire. Like, imagine this. So like, you got this entire building. It's like a shopping center like type building. You got the 4 shops where it has like usually a restaurant or 2. Sometimes it has something extra. Maybe insurance. Insurance is like take up those buildings a lot. And just going out back, getting these cinder blocks and some firewood, and just setting a fire out in the back. Oh shit, creepers. Okay. But yeah, they lit an entire fire in the back parking lot. Mind you, we're next door to a little popular barbecue place called Lawler's, and they have a drive-through. So here are my employees, just casually sitting out back while it slows crap into Pizza Hut, smoking on not only joints, but sitting around a campfire, just chilling. Of course, we didn't really get in trouble about it, but the Lawler place, they were like, hey, can you not do that? It's kind of driving away not employees, customers. So, of course, on the nights they were closed, they would do it. And, you know, I couldn't help but join in, and I brought my own, like, actual piece to smoke with and share around the circle. And if you've seen that one TikTok of, like, the 3 or 4 Pizza Hut employees next to a fryer just smoking off a giant bong, that is really, really accurate. Like, there's no other questions about it. That is the most accurate you can get to a true Pizza Hut experience. Which, a little fun fact, I mentioned this in a previous episode. A lot of the employees have a secret menu that they start to develop over time as they are at their Pizza Hut. You got to hear about one of them being the good old deep fried Cinnabons. Well, let me introduce you to the Purgatory Melt. This is something that was created as like almost like a challenge in a way by the next door place, Lawler's, because one of their employees who really liked spicy stuff, and he said, I bet you can't make anything more spicy than what we had on the menu. So we took that to heart and got as many red peppers as we could, used the buffalo hot and medium sauce, and used our jalapenos. And with all that together, we put some chicken and banana peppers and onions into a little tin. And we just kind of mix it up with all the sauce and peppers. We couldn't eat it, but this guy said it wasn't hot enough. That is something else on its own. And eventually it just got to the name of being called the Purgatory Melt. Because no one else but this one guy could eat it. We tried eating it, we just couldn't get past 2 bites while this guy is eating it whole. And it's just, we could not comprehend it, those taste buds of his. Like, I really don't know how to describe it. But continuing on the topic of secret menu items, we also had a different type of stuffed crust we came up with, which mostly stemmed from me being bored, and also the GM saying like, hey, if people are hungry, just make them a pizza. So I took that to heart and got one of the stuffed crusts, and we got pepperoni and bacon, and just wrapped the cheese with the pepperoni and bacon into the crust. And I'm not sure how too common that is, but evidently some other places do it too, because that's what my previous Pizza Hut I just worked at in Arizona did. Here and there, at least, not very often. And then there was also another little item. I don't remember who came up with it, but it first started with getting the onions and like putting this oil. I think we used vegetable oil in some something else just to saute the onions. And someone kind of threw around the idea of going, hey, let's make a beef stroganoff. And I was like, beef stroganoff? Can we even do that? kind of looked at the ingredients we had and was like, well, it's not gonna have vegetables, but we could sure try. Got the beef, got the noodles and garlic parm sauce, mixed it in with the onions and a few other seasonings that we had that weren't Pizza Hut safe. Turned out pretty good. Would I recommend it? No. But if you're just working straight Pizza Hut and just want free food, it is pretty good. So, moving on from that point, I'm sure everyone knows about those giant pizza parties. Sometimes, like, your school goes like, all right, let's get the kids a bunch of pizza and just have fun for the day. Usually it's like right before school lets out. And, ooh, I'm kind of messing this build up. I'll continue on it later when I'm not talking. But anyways, with these giant pizza parties, you gotta wonder, what is it like for the employees inside the store? Well, from experience, it's either fun or hell. There's no in between. And one night, we got an order of like, I think it was 18 pizzas, most of them being supremes and pepperoni. I think there's like 2 cheese in the mix of that. And with these big orders, we had to like pre-make them an hour ahead and go put them in the cooler. And I stacked them up in 9 because it was easier and it was the only way it would fit on the shelves in the freezer, not freezer, but cooler. Inside the cooler, right there, I had to go grab them when the order was ready. So like the order popped up on the screen. It's like, all right, I'll throw them in. So I go into the cooler, grab the first one, and at this moment it's really slow. There's no other orders, and I just told the other guys like, hey, I'll take care of it. Just do your own thing. And I kick open the door to go back out. So I'm holding this giant stack of pizzas, and it's about maybe 40 pounds worth of pizza with the toppings and sauce and cheese. And there's an employee right at that door. So trying to kick open the door and struggling to hold the pizzas is not a good mix. Let alone when the employee decides it's a funny idea to slam the door right back on me. I didn't drop the pizzas, but my finger got caught between the door and the pizzas and actually got a hairline fracture. So if you're ever working fast food, I beg you, stay away from the freezer door. I don't know if most places teach you to stay away from the freezer door. Just do it, please. It would save a lot of yelling. I'm not proud of that moment. But yeah, that hurt, very much so. And I think it was just shortly after we finally got a new GM. And the whole weed thing started to pick up big time because now half the staff were smoking on either their little cartridges or I think one of them was doing edibles at one point too, which was kind of funny. But the new GM had her, I think it was a family, not direct family member, but like family member-in-law, come to work at the store, and he had these weird carts that were really high in percentage of THC. That was a mistake that night because he's like, "You want to try one, bro?" And I was like, sure, why not?" And I took a big hit of that, and we're kind of like talking, joking around. I was like, it'd be funny if a cop was to come in right now. No less than 5 minutes later, the door jingles, and I go to greet the customer. It's a state trooper. Both our hearts sink, and he goes like, "Hey man, I'm just gonna do dishes." I was like, "Okay, have fun," and I'm inside panicking, and the guy's like, "Hey, I got pickup for so and so. I was like, oh yeah, sure, let me grab that. He left, and we just busted out laughing. Oh right, cops. Oh yeah. So we had another employee who was very familiar with the law in the ways you don't want to be familiar. And his brother was still in prison at the time, and we just hired uh, the actual guy. And he starts working as delivery driver, and just one night, out of the blue, I'm kind of working the front, and suddenly these cops come in, and they kind of looked around for a moment. I was like, "Is your manager here?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm the manager." And like, we're looking for a Jonas Mitchell, and my heart sank. Like if it feels like the I don't know how to really put a metaphor into this one actually, but my heart just sank. And they were like, uh, "Do you know a Michael?" And I was like, "A Michael?" He was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And they're like, "Yeah, so his car broke down on the side of the road just like half a mile ahead." And I was like, "You want to come with and help him out real quick?" I was like, "Well, crap, sure." And evidently his car battery died, so had to give him a little jump start there. But that really, really gave me a heart attack that night. Because you don't want cops coming in and just saying your name up front and then, like, just leaving you there for a moment stunned. Is like, am I in trouble? Thankfully, I wasn't. But there's one thing I could say for sure. I can't tell you how many times I've spotted someone getting pulled over and going into our parking lot at that Pizza Hut. So it was at least 4 different times, I think, that I can really remember, but it was definitely more than that. And the first time, it was just basic, I guess, like speeding ticket, maybe a traffic violation or two. Second one, probably the same, but the third one, uh, there's this guy that was on the run going from, I don't remember what state, but he was going through Alabama trying to get to either Georgia or uh, South Carolina, maybe Florida. And they had this whole trailer, travel trailer. And like they're on the run, the cops were looking for them, and were like, "Hey, if you spot this vehicle, please call whatever number, because they're highly wanted." And me and the employees were kind of just hanging out. We didn't know any of that at the time. And suddenly, these cops pull into the parking lot with this car coming in as well, a truck with the travel trailer. And like we're kind of looking around, I was like, "Well, what's going on over there?" And this really killed business for us because there's a giant car, like 5 different cops, just blocking the entire parking lot. And we're just kind of just watching. And then one of the guys kind of like start looking up things like, "Guys, oh crap, this guy's on the run. He's been on the run for a while too." And we kind of look over, and I think he was wanted for like drug trafficking or something. And he's been on the run since because the cops pulled him over and found him with some drugs and were uh, trying to give him a ticket, and he sped off and they couldn't get him to, which is kind of surprising. Like, you got this giant travel trailer and the cops somehow lose you. Regardless, um, we're just kind of out there stunned watching as this happens. And then the fourth time I remember, um, some guy gets pulled over and gets into the parking lot, and like we're just kind of watching it happen. And as it's going on, suddenly, shoot, um, I think the guy tried taking off running because all of a sudden he was on the ground a few feet away, and the cop was on top of him trying to get him to comply with whatever was going on. And like me and the employees were just watching it as it happened. Like, I really can't explain how much crazy stuff has gone on there at that point with the cops because it happens so frequently. And the area we were in was not even a bad area. It was just people did not know how to drive and did stupid crap. But probably not as stupid as what one of the employees tried doing at one point. Now, this was before my time at that Pizza Hut, and I know I'm kind of jumping all over the timeline here. But one of the employees evidently, actually no, it wasn't before my time. I just wasn't there at the time because I was at a different job. So one of the employees were up front working the register, and this big dude comes in asking for a pizza. And of course, comes in, asks for the pizza, he gets the pizza. He looks at it. Evidently, for whatever reason, either the order didn't go right, the call center got it wrong, or I don't remember. But it was missing a topping. So, what would you, a rational human being, do if your pizza was messed up? Would you A, ask for a remake, B, ask for a refund, or C, throw the registers on the ground and leave? Well, obviously it's not A or B, it's gotta be C, because this dude, with all his intellectual thoughts, grabbed the register and just threw it onto the floor, making a whole mess and just scaring the crap out of the employee. And of course we had to call the cops. Dude was never found. Like, we never got any follow-ups, nothing. Just gone, vanished. And of course we had to get new machines for that because it shattered the computer screen and broke the register. So we're stuck with one register from that point onward. I'm trying to think, is there anything else like that that's happened? I don't think so. There was one time though, one of the employees didn't have their proper non-slip shoes on, and of course they slipped. Fun times. They didn't get hurt though, so they're okay. Like, there's a lot of different stuff that happens at the pizza. Like, the conversations get a little bit wild. We had one of the guys at the time get really bored and just walked into the warmer, or not the warm. It's called a proofer, not a warmer. If you go into the warmer, you're going to have to take out all the crap in that. But he went into the proofer, and like, we're just kind of doing our job, and all of a sudden we just heard this scream, and like, we're kind of looking around. I was like, what the hell was that? Walk around and see him in the proofer, just there screaming, which was kind of funny because every time we opened the door, he would scream again. And just close it, repeat it like 2 more times. But I don't think that's the only reason people scream at work. Not just for the jokes, and I can speak from experience on that one personally. Because at the time, as a shift manager, my mental health was kind of tanking because I had employees that would call out, I'd have employees that never showed up, and I couldn't really do much about it. I couldn't force them to come in. And one Thursday night, it was just me and 2 drivers that night. Just me and 2 drivers on a Thursday night. And I hate to say that this was definitely not my proudest moment working there, but I think it was valid because the employee calls out and I'm left alone with a single driver at the moment. and then like in the next hour another one should pop in. Thursday night, things should be slow. Nope, nope. I could wish. Nope, it was not slow at all. We got to like 70 orders, and I had to close the store early at like 8 p.m. so I could just finish giving out orders because I could not do it by myself. And I'm at least proud to say this is my one and only time I did this, but this one customer I tried calling like 5 times trying to see like, hey, do you want this made or do you want a refund? What do you want? Because it was over 2 hours at that point. We weren't able to deliver pizzas, and we really didn't have another option other than to call. So she doesn't answer after like 5 attempts. So I'm like, all right, I'm canceling the order. They'll get their money back. The moment I cancel that order, it's like not even 2 minutes, and she calls back. And it's like, oh, crap. Well, might as well try my best to remedy the issue. So I answer going like, hey, this is Pizza Hut. How may I help you? She explains her issue like, hey, I haven't had my pizza for like 2 hours. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. We've been extremely short-staffed tonight. It's only been me doing everything. Just the whole explanation, because what was she supposed to do in that scenario? So I explained to her why I canceled the order, and I was going to offer her like, hey, if you want on the house, I'll make you 2 free pizzas and you can come pick them up. I can't even get to that point. I couldn't even say that. Because the moment I said I had to cancel the order because we're short-staffed, and it was already been like 2.5 hours, so the pizza was ruined at that point. And she starts going on a spiel about, well, how are my kids going to eat? And now dinner's ruined and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. That's not really our fault because we're so short-staffed. And she keeps going on, and she says something along the lines of, I want to tell all my friends to never order from your place again. And I snapped. I snapped. And of course, this isn't like the biggest like freak out of all time, but I did say, I'm sorry you have to be such a bitch, but you have a great night, and just hanged up. Because I don't get how these people think it's okay to abuse store, restaurant employees like that. Like, sometimes places have issues, and it's just best to have patience. And this lady did not have it, so she was actually banned from the store shortly after because the RM heard what happened and was like, alright, we're done. No more of that person. But that wasn't every customer. It was definitely a handful. And there was another one that happened to me as well on that same day. But thankfully he apologized. But basically what happened was, he came in, I was like, hey, I'm so sorry, I haven't gotten to your order yet. Would you like me to make it now? And he said yes. And I was like, I'm so sorry that it's taken so long. And he just said something like, just do better. And I was like, I turned around and said, I want to say this respectfully as possible. I am short-staffed. Give me a fucking break. And went back to the back to make his order. He apologized after. I will say though, I could have handled things so much better back then. But it was not a fun time. And the next day, Friday, I think it was next Friday, I came in and the same employee called out when we actually needed her help because there was only me and one other employee who was about to leave. Thankfully, it was already later into the shift, and we already had a cook with us, so I wasn't too worried. It was just, could have used the help, so it was less labor on all of us. And when we finally got confirmation that she's just not showing up, I grabbed the trash can and yeeted that thing across the room. and I broke a chair. I quit shortly after that, for a little bit, and that was kind of between the time where I had the one shift manager, Gabe, and the one that passed away, unfortunately, due to complications to a surgery. I forgot to say that earlier. Alas, we get to my final days of Pizza Hut. So, new GM, she's chilled. That's the one that has the one family member-in-law that works there. She actually gave me mushrooms one time. Unless you're like 18, would not recommend taking them, only because it can affect your developmental parts of the brain that still need a little bit of time. But if you ever get to the point where you want to try them, do like Golden Teacher. Those are a great strain. Other than that, though, I decided to quit at the last point because I was about to move, and evidently after I quit, things went downhill really fast with her, because at the time, this GM kind of imagine that one boss that's like very over dramatic, exaggerates a lot, and lies a lot about people, and is also very short. She's like 5'2". So she was very two-faced, and she was talking a lot of crap about me, and it just got to a point where it's like, you know what? I'm not doing this. If you're going to treat your one and only shift manager that has kept the store alive before she came there, I'm just going to quit. The store went under fast, and actually had to retake when the ServSafe, not ServSafe, but Surtec. They're the company that kind of does those inspections on your restaurants and stuff. And they actually had to get some. They got like the lowest score of all the stores in the last 10 years, I think it was. And that was shortly after I left. And just about everyone quit too. That's not going to be every Pizza Hut, though. I know every Pizza Hut's going to be different, but that was my main experiences at Pizza Hut as a whole. I know this episode was kind of just a huge rambling on Pizza Hut. If I say anything, don't get Pizza Hut unless it's like a well-known establishment one that's reliable and has like 5 stars if you're even lucky, but just don't do Pizza Hut. Do Domino's, do Papa John's, do something else, because it's just, I don't think Pizza Hut needs more customers at this point, after the fact that a lot of their ingredients are getting kind of screwed over. But I'm not going to go on about that too much. I just recommend going to other pizza places, because you can do so much better. Especially when a lot of these Pizza Huts don't do their cleaning properly, but you didn't hear that from me. But anyways, I guess that's the end of the episode. Again, I do apologize about it being a huge rambling, maybe a little incoherent. I really didn't have a script for this one, and I'm trying to figure out a script for a few episodes I have in mind in the future. And I'm starting to think I might go and start do recordings and start editing these things in, because I think it would be a little more fun to kind of show off what happens, actually have pictures for everything. And these lives are often unscripted, as I said before. So I kind of want to do better so I'm not rambling as much. But we'll see where it goes. And I hope the PNG tuber that my fiance made has been a little fun thing to watch on the side of the screen as I walk around the world and just talk. But yeah, this was the Fox Spots podcast. My name is Glitch, and